What's up, everybody? It's your man Janelle, aka Small Guy Promotions, aka the Omaha Fatty, coming with another podcast episode of What's Up Omaha. Today, I have another special guest with me. You know, we like to throw guests on from time to time, so you don't just have to listen to me talk all the time. But we got Rich Mackey, and I actually don't know Rich, but he's a part of the Cocktails, Tangents, and Answers podcast. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Hey, thanks. Happy to be here. So awesome.
Yeah, man, it's great to collaborate and coordinate with other people. I'm really big on community, and one of the things that I say is let's grow together. So when your producer reached out to me, I molded over, and like we talked about, he said that you guys were really laid back. So I said, yeah, man, let's get Rich on the show, man. I always need content. Don't we always need content?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're pretty chill. I mean, and we're pretty new, so we can use the community support. So really thank you for doing this. It's
awesome. For sure. Of course. And with that, talking about the community, you're located in Omaha and in Sioux City.
Yep. Yeah, we're in the old market in Omaha, and we're downtown in Sioux City, soon to be moving, but we're staying downtown, just moving to a bigger, more awesome, more laid back space.
Nice. And you also have a co-host on your show.
I do. Caitlin is my co-host, and she is really the energetic one. Okay. She's the one that brings a lot of the sass and a lot of the, she just has so much energy. She loves to talk. She loves to meet people. If she met you, her first question is going to be, what's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite food? I want to know.
Yeah.
And those better be good answers. Otherwise, Caitlin's going to she's going to judge you a little bit for that.
And you covered that a little bit in your first episode, correct?
We did. Yeah. We covered it. I'm kind of like I'm the president of the company, so I'm kind of a brains guy. I'm also a huge introvert, so I don't do a lot of public speaking. I've done it in the past. I just don't. Caitlin, if you tell her, hey, can you be on stage for this? She says yes before you tell her what it's about. She's like, on stage, yes, I'll be there. It'll be great.
Hey, I can relate. I've been for years. 2013 is when I started Small Guy Promotions, and it requires you to be in front of the camera or on stage. I used to do vendor events, and I would be the host. I've emceed different events for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. There's been a laundry list of things that I've done, but my family, they're like, no, I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want to be on the stage. I don't want to be in front of the camera. Sometimes it's hard to get them to take a picture if they know that I'm going to post it on social media.
Yeah, I've got some family like that too. I'm pretty good about it. I mean, I'm all over social media and been doing it since, kind of grew up with that as it was, coming up. I'm on the older end of that, but still not super shy about it. I just, I hate the telephone. Just text me. It texts. Yeah. Please just text me. Don't call.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was kind of a stretch. It's been fun though. Caitlin really helps keep the conversation going. And that's where kind of the second part of the name goes, the tangents. We go off on I think in the first episode, we started going off on this Honduras tangent. What beer do they sell in Honduras? Things like that. Cause she lived there and she just dropped that. I didn't know that. And it's okay, put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that in another episode, but we got to have an episode about Honduras. What's this about?
Well, and so, with that being your personality, how did this podcast get formulated? How did you guys decide to throw this together?
It's really kind of crazy. So we're a marketing agency. We do a lot of digital marketing, and we've had a bunch of clients who were like, hey, should I do a podcast? And we're just all like, oh, I don't know, maybe. And so we had two, one who just said, we're going to do one, and we'd really like to do it with you. And we're like, okay, so we haven't produced a podcast before. We need to figure this out. So before we did it for a client, I just told everybody, look, guys, we're going to do our own podcast. We're going to learn by doing. We're going to research, get some good equipment, figure things out, and trial and error our own podcast before we get in front of a paying client and do it for money.
Yeah.
And everybody was on board. One of our first episodes has Christian, one of our digital people, in it. And he's more introverted than I am. I think Caitlin says he's a 12 on the 1 to 10 scale of introversion. But we got him talking about SEO, and he loves SEO. And so he just kept going. So yeah, it was just this, we've never done it before. Clients want to do it, so we better figure it out. And I think we've got 11 episodes in the can right now. 5 or 6 are out.
Nice.
And we're recording, 2 to 4 a month. It's really fun.
See, and that's the great thing about conversation. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. I was going to say, how many episodes have you got out there and available for the public to listen to? So that was great. Another thing that I wanted to make sure that we mentioned, we've said the title of the podcast, but we haven't said your company name.
Oh, right.
Antidote 71.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Antidote 71. So Antidote, because we want to bring solutions, marketing solutions, solve marketing problems. So an antidote obviously is a cure or a fix, that kind of thing. And the 71, I didn't realize in numerology, 71 is actually like a number that's like lucky for business and fortune and all that. I just Googled it and I'm like, I wonder what the 71, but it's really, between you and me, it's the year I was born. So
I was wondering.
we had to have a number. There's an antidote agency in the UK and they had antidote.com. And so we couldn't get any of that. We couldn't get any social media. So we started looking and I'm like, I'm just going to throw the 71 in there. And it was available on Twitter. It was available on Instagram. So we were like, and we got the domains. We're like, let's just go for it.
Nice. Yeah. Because that's the first thing. Sometimes that's the toughest thing to do. Like you're like, I already have a name picked out, but I can't get the website because someone already owns the rights to that. I know that happened. I don't know if you're familiar, but Paisans Pizza out here. Yep. So Vers, he had the name Paisans, but he had to spell it different because he couldn't get the website, and the person who owned it was like overseas or something. It was something crazy, man. Like it was this long drawn out thing that he had to do. And I remember hearing him on the Pat and JT podcast, and that's how I found out about that. But yeah, man, those kind of things are things that some people may not think about when they're, creating a name.
Yeah, I mean, we've done naming and branding. I've done a ton of it in my career. We still do some for clients. And whenever we name something, before we even go to the trademark office, we go to search for a domain and we search Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, not so much, you can kind of fudge that, but Twitter and Instagram are critical.
Yeah.
And we make sure we can get it there because if I can't get the socials and the domain, I don't really care if there's a trademark on it or not. That just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Yep. And that makes sense. Yeah, I know that, I didn't know anything about marketing when I started Small Guy Promotions. It was just a thing that I was moved to do. So, my Twitter it's Small Guy Promotions, but it's at Small Guy Promo 13. So, I mean, it doesn't mirror Facebook and whatnot. So it's a little different, but, 13 is like, similar to yours. Mine, I started in 2013. So
perfect.
Small Guy Promo 13 is what I decided to make those handles. But yeah, man, it's just really great. And 11 episodes in, what is your biggest takeaway so far? Like, what have you learned that you didn't know before you started podcasting?
So we've had a couple of them. So microphone is a big one. And I actually just checked, this is using my computer microphone. I've got like a really great microphone in front of me, but Zoom didn't pick it up. So I'm like, I'm not going to change it now. I'll just keep it going as long as you hear me. Okay. We had Yeti Blue microphones and I've used those. I do some teaching. I do an online class. I've used those to record my videos for online classes and it's been fine. When we got into the podcast, they picked up so much background noise. It was crazy. And so a videographer friend of ours said, hey, these mics, they go on the top of a video camera, but you can put them on a tripod and they're designed really just to hit your face. So that was a huge one for us. And then the stupidest thing. So we tried all kinds of recording software. Like I've got a radio background. I did that in high school and college and a little after. And what we ended up with is like GarageBand is like, it had the best filters for background. It had the best audio. Like it was crazy. So you'll hear, I think we've got 5 or 6 episodes out now. Maybe the 6th one comes out this week. But as you get toward those like 11th and 12th and 13th episodes, the quality just starts to improve.
Yeah.
Those were the big ones. And then the other one was, I had like allergies. And so in the early episodes, my breathing is so heavy, especially with that mic.
Yep.
And it was just like, we had the guards and everything, but I just was breathing so heavy. I was like, I'm uncomfortable listening to myself breathe.
Yeah.
So we edited it out as much as we could. You can pull those wavelengths and stuff, but that was a big one for me. And it's just those things you have to be conscious of when you're like recording. Like we all watch and those kinds of things, but like, am I breathing too heavy? Like, is this turning into a completely different podcast here?
Yeah, it happens. And you know, those peas get you sometimes too. So
Oh yeah, the pops. Yep.
but yeah, those are, you know, part of the things that you learn. And for me, you know, I've just always been just a simple guy. I started out doing Facebook live videos and
Mhm.
interviews and stuff. I didn't even know I was podcasting at the time. I was just interviewing people because I wanted to help people get the name out. And then, you know, like I said, I've got a couple of cameramen who are my friends who help out when they can, but it just got to be too many moving parts when it was not their full-time gigs, because they have their own jobs and stuff. And, you know, trying to coordinate a schedule and getting
Mhm.
everything done. I was like, man, you know what? COVID was a good thing. You know, Zoom came along and started blowing up. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And it's just like a diary for me. So if I don't have a guest on, I just talk about my life or whatever's going on. So current events, it doesn't matter. I just find a topic.
Yeah, you're going to jump into my rotation now. Definitely. I do. I go back and forth between Sioux City and Omaha. I'm actually going to Sioux City tomorrow. And it's 90 minutes. So I need like some good podcasts to listen to.
Hey.
So I'll have you on in the morning. So we'll listen to whatever the most recent episode was.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I appreciate that. And speaking of the podcast, you know, I want to talk about yours more. So
Oh, sure.
cocktails. So we're having one different cocktail to focus on every episode. Is that the way that
Yes.
I understand it? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So cocktails, tangents, and answers. We always start with a cocktail. Caitlin and I do an intro. We just chat. Nothing is scripted in the intro. It's just really us vamping on whatever. The episodes come out not always the same week or, you know, close to when we record them. So we try not to be like super topical,
Yep.
because it's also not a current events thing. It's just a real casual conversation. And a lot of it we'll talk about the cocktail. Like we argue about gin and vodka. She's super onto gin. She's got me onto gin. And yeah, so every episode is named after a cocktail, and then the cocktail recipe is actually in the text of the episode on wherever you're looking at podcasts. And we've got it on the landing page as well. And you don't have to scroll through our life story or go through the transcript to find the cocktail. It's right there at the top. And then if
Yep.
you want to read the transcript, you can read it at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because I hate those recipe blogs where it's like, I just want the recipe. I do not need to
Yeah.
know like where
Yeah.
your grandma went to elementary school. So yeah, we keep it there, and usually it relates to our guest. So we'll ask them, and if they don't have a favorite cocktail, we'll kind of suggest one. Our last episode, I think 2 weeks ago, was our intern view. So we interviewed our interns, and they're both under 21. So we did a bougie Shirley Temple
Nice.
for them. Yeah, the Luxardo cherries were the bougie part of that, just some
All right.
expensive cherries. So it's really fun, and we love craft cocktails. It gives us something to talk about that's not like a boring marketing question or something crazy. And we found so many recipes that like we've got backed up cocktails that I've never even seen before. So it's pretty cool.
So do you guys make the drinks live during the podcast, or are they pre-made and you're just sipping them during the podcast?
They're pre-made. So,
Okay.
I mean, not pre-made like in a jar, like we make them before we record. That was one thing we noticed in the early episodes. We were trying to drink and that microphone was just picking up everything so loud.
Yeah.
We couldn't. And so with the new microphones and the new format, we can actually have the cocktails while we're doing the episode, which honestly just makes it more interesting anyway. So it's pretty good. It's been fun.
What's been your favorite episode so far that you've done?
Ooh, so Caitlin and I did an episode on culture, and it was supposed to be like all this, like, hey, what makes a company culture? Like, it's not, you know, it's not your office, it's not your physical space. Like, we all especially learned that during COVID. Like, if your culture was hinged on all being together in a physical space, you're not going to go anywhere. You're done. But really just kind of hammering out like what culture is. And in the first half, we went off on this negative rant about like bad cultures we'd been in and learning from the bad. And then the episode ended up going like almost 50 minutes when ours is supposed to be about 30. So we talked to Zach and he's like, guys, he's like, I'm going to cut that in half. So we're going to have like the negative culture episode and the positive.
Yeah.
But it was just a really neat one because we've got a unique culture. I've tried to do some things differently as a business owner with benefits and with features and amenities and all those things. So it was a really fun one to talk about. I think the second would be we've got a series coming on loves hates. So coming up shortly is things our creative director Jesse hates.
Okay.
And like they're limited to like 3 or 4. We just want to keep it pretty narrow. So just listening to people's pet peeves and then listening to like when we do the loves episodes, like what they light up about with marketing, what they light up about with their coworkers, which most of the time that's what it ends up being is the people.
Yep. Yep.
Those are my favorites. And they're also good for everybody. They're not like a hardcore, like, here's how you do SEO. Though we do that too. We cover that too. We just try to even it out a little bit.
And I was going to ask, you said it's just a conversation. If you had any structure in the mind, at least loosely in mind when you're going in, so you don't go too far off topic when you're talking about those tangents. Like, is it like, okay, we're doing 30 minutes. We need to spend at least like 5 minutes on answers, like, how's that work out?
Yeah, we try to keep the opening to like 6 or 7 minutes, like under 10, just with Caitlin and I vamping. And we do run a timer. That was the other thing we learned, is have a big visual timer that doesn't buzz or make any noise,
Yep.
but ours flashes at us. So we can really understand like what time we've got left and try to keep it tight. When we're doing the interview, we usually have no more than 4 questions. There's one base question, which is usually the subtitle of the episode, but then having 4 topic areas around that question that we talk about with the person we're interviewing. And we try to keep each of those to about 5 or 6 minutes, which gets us, 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then by the time we slap the closer on it, which we did pre-record the closer because that was just easier for us to keep things simple, that rounds it out usually to somewhere between 23 and 30 minutes. So structure's
good.
Important. Like,
yeah.
If you go off on a rant, you can just go for an hour and a half and you're like, oh crap, how do I make an episode out of this?
Yeah. And that's one thing about this podcast. It's just all raw. Sometimes I'll cut out pieces. Like I just did an interview with a local restaurant, and he he texted me later and said, hey man, I said this one thing, is it possible that you can cut that out? I said, well, I didn't take it as being negative, but I'll listen to it. I'll have my wife listen to it and we can cut it out. I mean, it doesn't have to be in there, but we definitely can cut it out and make little edits. That stuff happens. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I was worried in the culture one that I had ripped, like actually named one of my former employers, but when we went back, I didn't. I just talked generally in the industry, and I mean, people could put 2 and 2 together, I suppose. But I was like, Zach, did I like say their brand name out loud? And he's like, no, it's not in there. You're all good. Like, okay, great, thank you.
Oh man, I've totally done that. I was like, I don't care. I'm naming. Well, I didn't name individual names mostly, but I did speak about the business, and I'm like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like we're just loose and raw, like it's just us having a conversation. So if we feel that way, like it's a genuine opinion, like we're going to share it. And if they wanted to reach out, they can reach out, but it's where we are today. Maybe tomorrow it'll be different.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked a good amount about the show and how it came to be and what you guys talk about. Now, you started because you wanted to have some experience and some background into podcasting. So now going forward, we're 11 episodes in right now. What's the future of the podcast look like? Is this something that you enjoy so much that you're like, hey, I think we've got something here, we got to keep it going?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a huge listenership because we haven't done much promotion. It's just really been our own internal base. And we expect it to kind of go up and down. But for us, we had a client emailed us and said, I was listening to your, positive culture podcast, and I made my boss listen to it because our cultures are so similar and that's why we get along so well. So it turned out to be this kind of reaffirming and creating that delight with the customer, which was really nice. We don't expect it to bring in new business. Nobody's going to listen to our insights on SEO and call and be like, I need you to do my SEO. I mean, they could.
Yeah, you never know.
But our real thing is it's just enforcing our culture and enforcing who we are and giving us another way to express ourselves is really the goal. And I think number one would be that solidify relationships with clients, really help them understand us better. we do a lot of Zoom meetings. We've got clients in 16 states, so they're not face to face a lot. So giving them another way to get personal with us without us going to dinner, going to drinks, or having them in for a meeting, that kind of thing. I think that's important. And then I think the second piece would be if somebody does listen and it's like, wow, these guys are really smart. Yeah, they should call us and, we'll talk to them about, potentially doing a marketing thing. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. And that's the thing about social media and just technology. You never know how far your reach spans. And I try to tell people that no matter what you do as far as advertising goes, word of mouth will always be the most powerful advertisement that you could have, because people are going to listen to someone that they know and trust. Yep. Better than like a commercial ad or whatever. But still, with that being said, this allows you to reach so many people that you never would have been able to reach. Like, for some reason, when I started my podcast, I don't know if it was because Omaha was in the title, but I was getting listens overseas, like in France. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why are people in France listening to What's Up Omaha? And people were like, maybe, Omaha Beach. And I'm like, I have no idea, but like they're listening and I got like 5,000 listens. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me, but
yeah. And it could be just somebody who found it. It could be somebody who was from Omaha, who knows, or maybe it did show up
military,
in some, Omaha Beach things or military. Yeah. And they just shared it. They're like, you got to listen to this. I've done that with a few, podcasts that I've heard, a couple here in Omaha and some others, where I'm just telling everybody I can meet about them and being like, you should listen to this. It's really great. But yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm hoping that we kind of gain some traction, get a big audience. We, not huge listenership yet, but it's still really fresh and growing.
And I say about the listenership, I still don't have a huge audience myself, but I do have a lot of people who follow, like people love Omaha Fatty. Like they really love Omaha Fatty. But, I do it because I enjoy podcasting and like, again, it's like my own personal diary or my journal, and I can just talk about whatever I want to talk about, whatever's on my mind. And sometimes you could be upset or be emotional about something, and you come on and you talk about it and you feel some sense of like release, some therapeutic thing going on. And it's just good to talk.
Yeah, Caitlin brought that up the other day where we were talking about something on the podcast, and she's like, you know what? I've never asked you about that. And it was just really good to have you validate like this opinion that I had and, whatnot. And it's like, yeah, there is this therapy in just having this conversation with somebody or with nobody.
Yeah.
I was a radio DJ from like age 15 until I was 23. And it's just a one-way conversation. You're just sitting in front of a mic with headphones on and hoping that you're connecting and relating, and you would hear back occasionally. So this feels a little bit like that. It's sharing something for an audience that you hope is there, but you don't know is there.
Right.
And then when people give you feedback, it's like, oh man, that touched you. That's so awesome that you enjoyed that or found that useful.
Yes, exactly. And when you look at analytics, it's not like it tells you the name of the people listening, so you don't know who's listening when you see those numbers. And I know this was a few months back. I had a friend that I used to work with. He sent me a text and said, hey man, that episode that you did about males, what I did was, we always talk about women and self-esteem or girls and self-esteem as they grow. But I don't think we actually ever talk about young men growing up and self-esteem issues and whatnot. And I had mentioned that when I was younger, like I've never been like a thin guy. I've always had like a little gut. I've got big shoulders and big chest and stuff, muscular, but like I've always had a gut. And like when I was younger, I remember not wanting to take my shirt off to go swimming.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I got a gut. Like I don't want to show my gut. And then I look back at pictures and I'm like, what was wrong with me? Like,
I know. I know. I would love to be that size again. That'd be great.
Like, and so the fact that resonated with someone who listened, and not only that, it was someone that I knew and he felt moved enough to contact me and give me that feedback, like you said, that is worth that's priceless. I mean, there's no feeling greater than that.
Yeah, I love it. I hope that people like send us feedback about like, hey, I tried that cocktail and I loved it or I hated it. Like, you guys are terrible. Like this gin is awful. Like those kinds of things. Maybe we'll get a booze sponsor. That'd be nice too. Like get a little
Hey,
cash coming in, a little new revenue stream, though that's
there you
not the
go.
goal. But yeah, it's just that relatability, and you don't know when it goes out there that it's gonna touch somebody like that.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's powerful. So I really love it. And I think, heaven forbid anything bad happen, but as long as I can do it, I
Mhm.
will be doing it. Whether I have a guest or not, the podcast will go on, and it feels good to do. So, man, I'm glad that you could come on today and talk. I do have to ask you this, since you're up in Sioux City back and forth. If I'm going to Sioux City, where am I eating at?
Ooh, um, so you want like high end date, or do you want like
Nah.
great, cheap, amazing food for lunch?
Yeah, like I'm just an average guy. I always say I never go to high-end restaurants. I'm, a family of four, so a lot of times the family's in mind when we go out to eat, or and I don't spend a lot of money. So,
So I got two recommendations. If your family likes Thai food,
oh yes,
I'll give a shout out to Pete's Thai. They're on Fifth Street downtown. Super phenomenal, like just amazing food and really affordable and just great people. And it's really supporting a small business. So that's one. The other one that's been there since like my great grandparents were there. So I was born in Sioux City. My family had been there for a long time. Milwaukee Weiner House. So it's hot dogs, chili, like the best chili dog that I've had in my life. And I think a lot of it is sentimentality because I went
yeah,
with like my
yep,
grandma, my grandpa, and my great grandparents way back when I was just a little kid. But that's a super affordable, fun one. And it's just like, it's very unique to Sioux City. It's an icon in Sioux City.
there you go. Yeah, I have a friend that I've been saying for years that I would go out there and visit. I just haven't done it yet. So that is on the agenda to happen at some point, especially now that things are open back up. There's not
Yep.
really anything preventing me from doing that, so I need to make it happen. Um, Once again, Rich, I appreciate you coming on. Can you please tell everyone where they can find the Cocktails, Tangents, and Answers podcast?
Sure. So the easiest thing to do is to go to ctapodcast.live. So couldn't get the .com, but ctapodcast.live will get you there. And that's going to be our landing page that has most recent episodes and the links to everywhere you can get it. Otherwise, it's that old saying, anywhere you get your podcasts, except
Yes.
right now at this recording, Pandora for some reason hasn't approved us yet. It's been like 6 weeks, so I may have to email them. I've heard that they take forever.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, we're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, like all of the ones, and even some of the small niche ones. You can find us there, and enjoy the cover art. So all that's original illustration from our in-house designer Desi, and she did an amazing job with bringing the brand to life with those cocktails. Because we just
Nice.
give her the recipe and a picture, and she's got to draw the cocktail, and away we
Oh
go.
man, that's great. It's great to have people like that, because I am not artistic at all. I say that like this is my thing. I can talk and I can eat. Like that's what I can do. I can't design anything.
All good, all good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to follow not only myself and What's Up Omaha and share and subscribe, but also go and find Cocktails, Tangents, Answers, and follow those guys, subscribe, give them some feedback. As we talked about, it means a lot to us when we do get feedback. We listen to you guys, especially when we're smaller like this. We listen to see what you guys want to hear and what you gravitate towards, because we want to give you more of that. We want you to enjoy what we're talking about when you tune in. So thank you guys again. Subscribe.
Yes,
This
yes.
this podcast will be on all those places that Rich mentioned, as well as YouTube. And as we end every episode, smile, help someone else smile, laugh, and help someone else laugh all day, every day. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on, Rich.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.